Hey guys, Kenzairo here, and today's video is about a topic that I think we really need to talk about. So ever since the announcement of DBZ Kakarot, one of the most negativity around the game has been due to the fact that it is going to cover Dragon Ball Z Saga all over again. If you've been following this game even slightly, whether it is on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube or anywhere else, you can always find someone who says that this game is the same old shit all over again and it does not offer anything new. Frankly speaking, this is a very stupid thing to say, especially now that we know so much more about this game. You guys know that personally I am a bit excited about this game. It is no big secret, and actually, to tell you the truth, I have been excited about this game since before it was even officially announced. Couple of months before the official announcement of this game, I actually found out that they were working on a open world Dragon Ball RPG game, and when I first heard that, my immediate thought was Legacy of Goku on consoles. Legacy of Goku, for those of you who do not know, is the 10th best-selling Dragon Ball game ever. It sold better than even the beloved Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Fans definitely loved this game, and for good reason. Back then, Legacy of Goku series was fun as heck to play, and as you can see, it had nothing to do with the game's graphics or the game's fighting mechanics. The reason why so many fans loved this game and still do even today is because it made you feel immersed in the Dragon Ball world. In this game series, when you played as a character, it truly felt like you were experiencing the Dragon Ball world from their eyes. The game wasn't just about fighting the bad guys, you were also at home as Gohan. You had to study, and Chi-Chi wouldn't let you leave the house until you did your homework. There was a portion in the game where Gohan would fall asleep while studying, and then he dreamed about Goku coming back from Namek, after his battle with Frieza of course, but as it turns out, Gohan was having a nightmare and Goku then turns into Frieza and attacks Gohan. This portion in the game actually gives you an insight to Gohan's mental state during the time when Goku was away training on Yardrat after his battle with Frieza. The game gave you an experience of Gohan's everyday life, which is what immersion is all about. You feel closer to the characters, and in return, you also feel closer to the Dragon Ball universe. In the Legacy of Goku series, there were actually 3 games in total. There was Legacy of Goku 1, 2 and then Boost Fury. The reason I'm talking about this series is because the ground foundation of Legacy of Goku and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is pretty much the same. However, if you pick up most Dragon Ball Z games from the last 10 or 15 years, you will find that the ground foundation for gameplay of those games is also very similar. Let us take Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for example. If you start up the game and go into the versus mode, you select Goku as your character and let CPU play as Frieza, the gameplay experience that you are gonna get from this is going to be pretty much the same that you're gonna get in the story mode of the game. Sure, there will be few cutscenes here and there in the story mode, but apart from those, the core experience remains the same. And actually, same can be said about other recent Dragon Ball games such as Xenoverse. Every recent Dragon Ball game actually follows this same formula for their story mode, which is cutscene, battle, and so forth. And this is exactly where DBZ Kakarot is different. If Kakarot was no different from the games that we've gotten in the recent years, then as soon as you started the game, you would get a cutscene and then you would need to fight Raditz. And then there would be another cutscene and you would need to fight Nappa. Then cutscene and then Vegeta and so on. However, this doesn't happen in Kakarot at all. When you start DBZ Kakarot, the very first thing you do is you get to take a look at the open world of the game. You have Goku, you have Gohan, they talk with each other and then they go to a forest to pick some apples. They spend some time together and then you go back to Goku's house with your son flying on Nimbus. And all of this is not even a cutscene, you're controlling the characters this entire time. And since it is a semi-open world RPG game, you can decide to take a detour and not go to Goku's house. Instead, you can just roam around and just enjoy exploring the game map first. Fight with Raditz probably doesn't even happen until like 1 hour into the game. And even when it does happen, it is unlike the formula used in other Dragon Ball games. You see, every game in the recent years has been what we call PvP, which stands for player versus player. In PvP, the two characters who are fighting are very similar to each other. They're not exactly the same, but they are quite similar to each other. And the reason for that is really simple. They have to balance out the characters in their game because it is a PvP. If they made their characters accurate to the lore of Dragon Ball and you have your homies over at your house to play the game, the person who selects Whis would whoop the hell out of every other character like Krillin, Yamcha, Vegeta or even Goku. there would be no reason for people to actually play with those weaker characters, and it would completely ruin the game. And this is where Dragon Ball Z Kakarot truly shines in the gameplay department. Instead of being a PvP, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is an RPG. In this game, you're not playing against other people, rather you're playing against the CPU, and that's why the fights don't have to be fair. At the beginning of DBZ, when your power level is really low, you're gonna have a hard time to fight against Raditz because his character level is going to be higher than yours. The fight can be completely unfair, and that will be a true Dragon Ball experience because in the series itself, the fights are never fair. When Goku fought against Raditz, he struggled because he was weak at the time, and then he slowly trained his way to reach the level of the gods. Being an RPG, DBZ Kakarot actually has another beautiful advantage. As you progress through the game, you are training and making your characters stronger and stronger. The result of your training can be very apparent thanks to the game being an RPG. Your speed, for example, is going to be very slow at the beginning of the game, but as you progress and as your characters become stronger and stronger, you're gonna get much faster, and also your attacks such as the Kamehameha is going to look bigger and is going to get stronger with you as well. So on the surface, it may seem like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is the same game all over again as compared to the previous games, but if you actually look at it closely, you will realize that this is unlike any Dragon Ball game we've had, well, ever. All of these things combined not only makes Dragon Ball Z Kakarot different from all the other Dragon Ball Z games, but it also makes it better than all the others. It is not simply a game where you fight using the characters of Dragon Ball, but rather you experience the entire Dragon Ball world in a very immersive fashion. You will often see people asking for something new from a Dragon Ball game, but they don't realize that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is something new. We haven't had a Dragon Ball game like Kakarot ever. There's so much more to video games than just the story that they tell. Take Dragon Ball FighterZ for example. It didn't cover the same old stuff, it didn't cover the Z story or Dragon Ball Super story, and instead it actually had an original story of its own. How did that original story actually go for Dragon Ball FighterZ? I'm willing to bet that most of the people out there never even finished the story mode for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and half of the people who did finish it only did it to unlock Android 21 and not because they were enjoying the story mode. The point is that telling the Z story again in Kakarot is not an issue. What matters is exactly how that Z story is adapted. I've said this in a video before, but I'll say it again. CyberConnect 2, the developers of DBZ Kakarot, are extremely talented in terms of storytelling. They really know how to tell a good story, and at times, their storytelling is even better than what you can find in the anime. The animators at CyberConnect 2 prefer to make their own storyboards rather than following the storyboards of the anime. What this means is, surely you'll see many iconic moments from the franchise such as the father-son Kamehameha scene, but you will also get tons of original scenes, as you might have noticed in the new Majin Buu trailer. In order to understand this better, you can actually watch Naruto and Sasuke's battle in Naruto Storm games and then compare that to the anime. You will easily understand what I mean. I'm not saying that the game is a replacement for the anime itself, but rather that both of them are two completely different experiences in their own right, and both of them are actually quite fun. You can watch the story in the anime and then you can watch that same story portion in the game and still have two very completely different experiences. And that is exactly what will happen with DBZ Kakarot. There is quite a lot more to say regarding this topic, but I wanted this video to be short and to the point. However, if you want more, there is actually another video on the channel that is titled exactly why Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is going to blow your mind. So I recommend checking that one out. If you want to stay updated to all the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot news, then hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions, well, I'm here to answer them, so post them in the comment section below. I hope this video did not feel like a rant, because I didn't want it to feel like one. I wanted this video to be a bit informative, but if it did feel like a rant, well, who cares? I said what needed to be said, and I hope you enjoyed hearing that. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, fellas. Stay awesome.